Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this morning, and I appreciate very, very much everyone being here to promote a safe weekend, Super Bowl weekend here in the state of Tennessee and everywhere. As Ariel said, I am the director of the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, which is a division within the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security. And I would like, first of all, I'd like to thank Nissan Stadium for hosting today's event and the Tennessee Titans for the partnership and support. They have been so kind to provide coffee and water over here, so feel free to enjoy that anytime this morning. First of all, I would like to recognize our partners in attendance today. The Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security, of course, the Tennessee Sheriff's Association, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, Metro Nashville Police Department, the Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police, Metro Nashville Police Department, Franklin Police Department, Brentwood Police Department, and other traffic safety advocates, and all of our media partners. We appreciate everyone being here this morning. We're grateful for your hard work and dedication to saving lives across the Tennessee roadways. The purpose of today's event is to gather in solidarity to share a common message: fans don't let fans drive drunk. Our goal is to increase education and awareness to help prevent drunk driving crashes, injuries, and fatalities, especially this weekend during Super Bowl weekend. You will hear from Franklin Police Lieutenant Scott Legieza. He would like to discuss the fatal traffic crash that took the life of his son, Brentwood Police Officer Destin Legieza, due to a drunk driver in 2020. Let's remember that every life is precious. You know, we talk about numbers, the number of fatalities. We always mention numbers, but we've always got to be mindful that every number represents a life of a person that won't be at a family gathering or won't be there anytime from this point on because someone made a decision to drink or drink impaired and drive impaired. So let's remember that every life is very precious. Everyone deserves an opportunity to make it home safely to the family and loved ones. Don't drink and drive. Always find a sober driver to get home.
Thank you, buddy. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here today. This is a very important event, and I look forward to it every year. We want to make sure that we protect the citizens of the state of Tennessee, and especially on our state highways and our local highways. The Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security, our objective is to keep our citizens safe in their community. So let me thank the Tennessee Titans for their partnership that they do this every year. Also, I want to thank more than anything our state, our local partners. Without you, we could not do the job of protecting the citizens of Tennessee without each and every one of you. And I think it shows how important this issue is by all of you being here and representing your departments today to represent what we're trying to do during Super Bowl. To the Mothers Against Drunk Driver, thank you for being here. You're very important in this fight against drunk driving with us, and we appreciate your partnership also. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Super Bowl is no different than any other time as we go into the weekend for this. We ask every individual to avoid simply the trouble that they're going to be facing if they get caught drinking and driving, because the officers are going to be on the highway watching for you. We're going to be patrolling the highways to try to keep them safe. You know, it's really not any reason anymore for anybody to get behind the wheel when they're driving or when they're drinking alcohol or using any kind of substance abuse. They have an opportunity to get an alternative to get them off the highway. They need to take that alternative all the time, and especially this weekend during this. We're asking all football fans across the state of Tennessee to make the right call. And that's plan to have either a designated driver, call someone to pick you up if you've had too much, and don't get on the highway to kill one of the family members of somebody you may know in your community or someone you may not even know. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Remember, please be safe, enjoy the game this weekend, but please be safe and protect everyone that you're coming in contact with. Thank you.
Thanks, Director. So, Colonel Matt Perry, Tennessee Highway Patrol. So I'm going to say what we say every year. We're going to be out in full force. You're going to see troopers, hopefully like you do every day, but you're going to see them. And if you've heard any message today, we're all in this together. Local law enforcement, the city police departments, the county sheriff's department, Tennessee Highway Patrol, we're here together. We take impaired driving personal. It is personal. I know Scott Legieza, I know his son Destin. It's personal to us, so we're going to be out there doing our part to make sure you're not drinking and driving, you're not using any kind of substances in driving. If you know you're planning to go celebrate, spend the Super Bowl with friends and loved ones, it's just a little bit more planned to have a sober driver or to use a ride share. So your friendly neighborhood warning from the Tennessee Highway Patrol: if you do drink and drive, we will arrest you and put you in jail.
I'll echo some of what you've heard today, and I too want to say thank you to the Titans organization and all of our partners that are here today to come together for this most important cause. On behalf of the 95 sheriffs of the state of Tennessee, we join our partners today with this most important message. Each of us gather to educate the citizens of the dangers of driving while drunk or impaired, with a goal to prevent the risk to our public safety. Many will come together and watch and celebrate the Super Bowl this weekend. From that, many will consume alcoholic beverages and substances that will impair their actions, their ability to function. The reality is that drinking and driving is more common than people think, and the consequences can often be tragic. One problem with drunk driving is that many people don't think that they will get caught or end up in a crash until it happens to them. Each of us that have worked the roads for years and encountered those that are impaired or drunk driving often hear excuses that we now know are simply not true. I've only had a couple of drinks. Well, that couple of drinks also impairs, and we call that buzz driving, and buzz driving is also drunk driving. I'm not driving that far. My house is a mile away. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 52% of car crashes occur within 5 miles of a driver's home. A lot of people will say, I can handle my liquor. It's easy to say, but once it starts, then it can get out of control, and there's that level of impairment that's there. Or it's been hours since I've had those shots. I'm sure I'm sobered up. Not necessarily. How you feel doesn't determine your reaction and your impairment level. I'm not the kind of person who gets a DUI. I've never been in trouble. It can happen to anyone, and we often see, as our media covers, there's people of every walk of life that get DUIs and charged with driving while impaired. Some are very reputable in our communities, and it's an embarrassment to them or the organizations that they represent. It even happens to us in law enforcement, unfortunately. But we will work to continue to prevent that and stop that risk. The consequences of a DUI conviction for a first-time offender in Tennessee has costly fines, court costs, legal fees, jail time, mandatory drug and alcohol treatment. Also, there's an installation of an ignition interlock device, which that's not free. There's a cost to that. And looking at the average estimated cost in Tennessee, it can range from $6,000 to $10,000 if someone's charged and convicted of a DUI. If you cause a crash, the financial consequences are even greater. You're responsible for any medical bills, repair of vehicles, any property damage that results. With a damaged vehicle or suspended license, you must find other means of transportation. With Tennessee being the volunteer state, we are known for coming to the aid and help of others in a time of need. Drunk driving or impaired is the opposite. It impacts and harms others with the damages that's left behind. More than the legal consequences are the loss of life and the life-altering injuries that are often left behind. Those selfish actions can lead to the death of our family, our friends, our neighbors, and it can leave you or others needing a caregiver for the remainder of your life. It's not worth the risk, so we ask you to plan ahead and always have or find a sober ride home.
On behalf of the over 1,200 members of the Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police and my own department, the Franklin Police Department, we're proud to lend our support to this important initiative on highway safety. Impaired driving is a high priority with Tennessee law enforcement. We urge you, we insist that if before the game you don't have a plan, then we're going to meet. It's simple as this: drink, drive, jail. And we meet it. Make a plan, don't drink and drive, or you'll go to jail. As law enforcement officers, my brothers and sisters in here today will attest that we've worked a lot of crashes involving impaired drivers. If there's a fatality, it's our job to notify the family members. That's a very tough knock on the door. I'm saddened to say that Franklin Police Lieutenant Scott Legieza received one of those notifications on June 18th, 2020. And he's here today to tell the story. Lieutenant Scott Legieza.
Whew, this could be rough, but I'm gonna try to get through it. First off, I'd just like to thank my chief, Director Lewis, Commissioner Long, Colonel Perry, and Sheriff Bledsoe, and the media and others who are here today, giving me the opportunity to share the same goal, and that goal is to be to create greater awareness on preventing drinking and driving. Hopefully I will be able to get through a sentence or thought without crying. Being here at this stadium brings back some of the best of memories I ever made with my son. Destin loved football, and anyone who knew him knew that he was the ultimate, and I mean the ultimate Titans fan. Destin and I made great memories here, to include tailgating, spending time with friends, family. But one of the favorite things that he and I love to do most was throwing the football. Throwing the football in this parking lot right outside here in this stadium. Doing that right before it was time to come into the stadium and watch the Titans play football. I could talk forever about my memories of my son Destin, but I know my time is limited. Sadly, my story is not only one of too many. Some similar have the same story as I have, and unfortunately, their stories are much worse than mine. My life would unexpectedly change forever in the morning of hours, or in the hours on June the 18th, 2020. That morning, I received a phone call that any parent fears. I was told that my son Destin was involved in a bad vehicle crash. My instinct, like any mother or father, was to ask, is he okay? I was told the vehicle crash was not good and that I needed to hurry up and get to Vanderbilt Hospital. I quickly left my house and began making my way to that hospital. All right.
You got this.
I arrived at Vanderbilt Hospital. It was motioned to by the Vanderbilt Police Department parked directly in front. Straight away, I knew something was very wrong. As I approached the hospital doors, I was met outside by Destin's supervisor and a few of his co-workers. I will never forget the look on his supervisor's face before he spoke. There's a face when you witness, you already know what's coming. And you try to embrace for it, but there's no way to embrace for it. What I was told was, Destin did not make it. I felt myself gasping for air, my body buckled, and I fell to the ground in total disbelief that my son was gone. Emotions overwhelmed my mind. I cried hysterically in total shock. I was lost. Family and friends quickly arrived to the hospital after the word had spread, and together we all shared in the tragic loss of my son. The thought of a husband, a son, a brother, a nephew, a great friend to others was gone. And still to this day, that pain stays the same. Vanderbilt staff allowed myself, his mother Julie, wife Heather, and me to see Destin one last time before he was transported to the medical examiner's office. The three of us walked into a small room where my son laid in a hospital bed. To see my son laying lifeless in a bed with an intubation tube will be an image that will forever haunt my mind. It was heart-wrenching to see my son, Destin, pale, lifeless. There are no absolute words to describe the mental trauma this inflicted upon me and other family members. I remember kissing Destin's cold forehead, wishing he would wake up and come back to life. I whispered in his ear, telling him I was deeply sorry that his life had been taken and that I loved him so very much. That horrific day, the weeks and the months that followed were all a blur. I, like many others, spent countless nights with little to no sleep. I became depressed. I would ramble and cry uncontrollably when emotions would blindside me. I lived each day after the next with a monumental amount of emptiness in my heart. I was completely lost and living my days incredibly sad or angry. While on the surface, I was tiresomely trying to pretend everything in my life was okay. But honestly, my soul was completely crushed. I continually found myself feeling guilty to have life and wishing God had taken me instead of my son. Destin no longer being here today has been the worst pain I've ever felt, and it's just downright indescribable. I miss him beyond measure every day. I miss his phone calls. I miss his texts, his voice, his laugh. I miss watching him continue to grow and navigate his life while fulfilling his dreams. Destin wanted a family and was in the planning stages of having his own children. It crushes me. It crushes my heart, shatters my heart that he will never, ever, ever get to experience being a father. I miss everything that made Destin so special, and I was so extremely proud to be his father. The details of the crash Destin was a victim of came a few days later. Just before 5 a.m. on June the 18th, 2020, Destin, who was a Brentwood police officer, was ending his shift and driving to park his patrol car before heading home when he was struck head-on by a drunk driver. Her BAC was twice the legal limit while operating her vehicle with no headlights on and driving in the opposite lane of travel. These actions of this drunk driver took the life of my son and hit him head-on. Destin's life was abruptly and unexpectedly cut way too short, and it deeply saddens me he is no longer here today with us. A parent should never have to bury their child, but a parent should never have to unnecessarily bury their child as a direct result, as an act by another, which is 100% preventable. It sickens me and other survivors like me of the carnage that is left behind by these tragic actions. Leaving parents, spouses, siblings, other family members, and friends of the victims emotionally in prison for the rest of their lives. This was never a club that I or anyone would sign up for. When you're a kid, you lose your parents. They call you an orphan. When you're an adult and you lose your spouse, they call you a widow. When you're a parent and lose your child, there's nothing to call you. There's not a word for it. It's that bad. It is that bad. I'm not against drinking, but I am strongly against drinking and driving. Those who drink and drive have no way of knowing how many lives could forever be negatively impacted by their selfish actions or even their decisions. Your one thoughtless choice will always put innocent people at high risk of becoming seriously injured or even worse, dead. These are not only people who become your victims, are mothers, fathers, spouses, sons, daughters, good friends. And all these people that I just named, they deserve life. They deserve to live. I plead with those who drink this Super Bowl Sunday weekend. Simple. Don't drive. Just don't drive. And if you do drive, shame on you. But if you're one of these people that want to go celebrate the Super Bowl, have a good time, enjoy your weekend, have a plan, like it's been discussed today. Designate a sober driver. Have a plan, designate a sober driver to get you home safely. Give your keys to a person in your group who is going to remain sober before the start of your drinking. Friends, if you think someone has had too much to drink, stop them from driving. Let's be honest. We're at parties, we're at events. Oftentimes we go to that friend, we go to that person we may not know. We ask them, have you had too much to drink? Are you okay to drive? That should be a clue. Because if you're having to ask that person if they are okay to drive, they're probably not okay to drive. If you observe someone who is impaired and preparing to drive, say something to them. I don't want to sound cliches, but in our line of work, we try to push out. If you see something, say something. So if you see this, have that courageous talk with that person that you think is intoxicated. Have that intervention with this person you think is intoxicated. And if all else fails, call the police. Because I can promise you the police will be there. And they will intervene. And just like my chief explained to you guys just a minute ago, you drink, you drive, you're going to go to jail. If you're out on the road driving, and you see someone in front of you, beside you, behind you, showing significant signs of impairment, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. Call the police. Call the police. Give them every bit of information you can about what you're observing so that a police officer can get into your area and prevent that person that you're observing from taking the life of someone else. Don't be that person who, when given the chance, did nothing. Wake up to tomorrow's news and see an innocent person has been killed at the hands of that same person you could have helped stop. Think of it in a more personal way. What if that person or people they kill is your spouse, your son, your daughter, your mother, father, or even a close friend? It's been said here today, law enforcement will be out in numbers this weekend, as they always are. not just on Super Bowl weekend, but every day. The reality is, can we be everywhere at one time? No. We can't. It's impossible. But that's why we need your help. We need your help to help us save lives. So, together I believe, and I strongly feel that we together can do that. So I close with this. Enjoy the Super Bowl, drink responsibly, and God, I beg and plead, fans, don't let fans drink and drive. Just not this weekend, but every day. Every day. It was an honor for me to be able to share my story, and thank you for listening. And God, Destin, I hope it made you proud. Thank you.
I don't know what else could be said, just to be honest with you. You know, in law enforcement that I've been a part of for 45 years, we see these things, but when it happens to one of our family, and that's law enforcement is family, when it happens to one of us, it makes a major impact on everyone in law enforcement. So Lieutenant, thank you for those words. We're here for you constantly. We're here for you. And the words that you said made this proud. Thank you. The last thing I want to say is this, and I say this everywhere I go and every opportunity I say it, to have to say it. Traffic safety is public safety. Traffic safety is public safety. When people get on the roadways, they depend on law enforcement and everyone to be a part of doing something to make their travel from the store to home, from school to home, to visit family, to work. They depend on everyone, especially law enforcement, to make that trip safely home or safely wherever they're going. So I impress upon everyone today, whatever agency you're with, please pass it on that traffic safety is public safety.